Good morning or afternoon or whatever it may be where you find yourselves when you watch this, if you watch this. This is AM. I like to call myself Dreamingstitcher, probably because I'm not really living in reality most of the time. I'm overdue for my monthly flosstube update, wherein we normally would be showing people what progress we've made in the whatever past period we usually spend between videos on our cross-stitching. I did film an update last weekend. I wasn't happy with it. I actually filmed it twice. I uploaded the second one, but I didn't publish it. I don't know, a lot of stuff going on in my head. My mood just isn't really there. But yesterday, I watched a floss tuber who was doing a bit of stitch with me. I haven't watched too many of those before. 3 or 4 maybe, I think. And I found myself wondering whether it would even be possible for me to film one of those. Not that I know whether anybody's actually interested in Stitch With Me videos. I don't know how popular they are. I don't know whether people watch them for the quiet stitching time or to hear people talk. I don't know whether they watch them because they like the project that's being done or they like the stitcher. I don't know if they don't like them at all. But I'm just here experimenting. I figured maybe I can give you a verbal update on what I've been doing and perhaps actually show it some other time. I don't know. Anyway, as I said, I am Dreamingstitcher, and this is a Murloc. I have not shown it to you before. I am intending it to be a gift for someone, a friend, who I'll be seeing at the end of the month. And it is on 14 count Aida cloth, done with the cheapest threads I've got lying around because I didn't want to pull threads that might have been purchased for a different project. So I just grabbed appropriate colors from a big old bag I've had for years of designs for the needle threads. That would be these ones with the little DN logo, designs for the needle. That worked for all but one of the colors. The iris of his little eye needed to be kind of a burgundy shade, and I didn't seem to have it all the right shade in the designs for the needles choices. I am stitching with 3 strands, which means even if I were inclined to use the loop method, which I don't, it wouldn't work on this because it's an odd number of threads. So you're probably going to see me starting and stopping threads quite a bit. Due to the fact that I've actually already stitched a whole lot of the areas where there would be quite a bit of one color. I'm just wrestling with the start of this one. There we go. I don't know how well the stitching will stay in frame. What you'll be able to see, but like I said, I don't even know if you care to see this, so doesn't much matter to me today. That's just my mood. So I'm going to stitch and I'm going to talk. And if you're watching and if you're interested, good. And if you turn it off, that's understandable too. So what have I been up to besides stitching Murlocs as gifts for friends? On my other projects, I have made quite a bit of progress on the Torah stitch project that I'm doing. I was behind before. I am now at about the halfway point. They provided 4 skeins of black DMC floss to stitch it with. I have finished off 2 of the skeins and have just begun a 3rd. And as far as rows of lettering and words go, I'm just past the halfway point, which is appropriate for being just past the halfway point of the floss. So I've kind of caught up to where I needed to be. I do need to continue working on it. I've done a lot more work on that than on anything else. But since this Murloc has also got a deadline, and its deadline comes before the Torah stitch project, I thought I'd go ahead and work on it today. Right now I'm just filling in a lot of empty spots that require this dark green color. That's why I said you're probably going to see a lot of starting and stopping, because I'm putting in little patchy bits. On my southwestern pot design, I have a finish that I'm sure I'll have to show you sometime. It's not a fully finished object yet, just a regular finish. And I made some progress on the old Bernat carousel horse kit. I was working on the tail of the horse. That's really all the update I would have had to show you, other than I did have a start and finish on that, which is going along with this Murloc gift. You're going to see a lot of the back of my work. That's the way it is. Or at least if the camera picks it up. Like I said, I don't know how much you're actually going to be able to see of what I'm doing here. But if you do watch and have any comments on what one wants to see in a Stitch With Me video, do you want me to just be quiet and stitch? Do you want me to chatter at you the whole time? What is it that people like? I do not know. So I cannot exactly provide it. I do not participate in any of the Facebook groups. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on social media. I don't do Instagram, which is good and bad. It means I'm out of all the drama that I hear other flosstubers reporting. But it also means I never see comments from people on what they want or don't want in these videos. Although I guess the latest drama, maybe it's not the latest, a recent drama had to do with people who don't like flosstube anyway. So they won't be watching, or if they are, they'll just be watching to give themselves something to put thumbs down on, which is kind of pathetic. But, you know, whatever floats their boat. But I don't get to see sincere comments in social media about what people would like their floss tubes to provide. And that's too bad, because then I don't know whether what I'm putting out there for them is satisfactory or not. I mean, you know, you always get the thumbs up or down and some nice comments, but that's really all you have to go by. It's not very informative when it comes right down to it. So what I do, if you haven't noticed, is I look for where I want to come up. I kind of mark it with my needle and see where it is, and then I go through the back of threads to be able to come up in that spot, which I'm sure is what most of you do. I'm only mentioning it in case there are any less experienced stitchers wondering what's going on. I'm really not looking at the computer screen, so I don't know what you're getting to view. I glance up at it now and then just to be sure there's something, not just staring at my elbow or something. This floss, by the way, is really wretched stuff. It's not as bad as that MCG Textiles fabric, which is what I meant to stitch this on. Stuff I showed you before that was stiffer than, I don't know, cowhide. Terrible stuff. I meant to stitch this on that just to use up that dreadful piece of fabric that I showed you some months ago. But once I started stitching, I almost immediately thought, this isn't so bad. I wonder why I thought it was so bad. This isn't so bad. And then after a day or so of stitching, I thought, wait a minute, I bet you grabbed the wrong piece of fabric. I think you took that fabric that you had intended for another project. So I went back and looked, and yeah, that's exactly what had happened. That's not the best stitch. Oh well. I am not planning to do a whole lot of pulling out or restitching on this guy. My friend will like him or she won't. And that's the way it is. If it's a sloppy job, that's just the mood I'm in. I'm sorry. I suppose we should all take our stitching more seriously. We spend a lot of time on it. It's important to do it well. I mean, it's that old saying, if you're going to do anything, do it right. But so why am I in such a less than enthusiastic mood? I'll tell you. I had a terrible disappointment at work this past week. I've already told you before that I had an involuntary transfer on my job, and I'm doing something I'm not really comfortable with. I think it's safe to say that many times a week I am actively miserable with what I'm doing. But I thought I saw a way out of it, because on the books we have, excuse me, I'm going to pause just a moment. Sorry about that. I've been having some pretty strong allergies lately, and I know you don't want to see or hear me dealing with that. I was saying, we have on the books at work a policy that says when you feel you are ready for retirement, you can apply for a longevity retirement increment bonus program thing. Basically, a really substantial boost to your salary in your last year of employment. You have to apply a year ahead of time, and if approved, that acts as notice of your resignation. So I thought maybe it's time. I'm not happy there. I'll have in the years after next year to begin collecting a pension. Maybe it's just time to call it quits. So I put in a letter requesting the longevity bonus, and mentioning in the letter that part of it is my unhappiness with what they did with my old position, which they basically eliminated. It's a graduate level position. I had a master's degree to do it, and I was not the only one that was involuntarily transferred out of the same job. They got all of us out of that position and into the sort of thing I'm doing now. But they left our former assistants to do our jobs, and their own jobs, and in some cases a third job, without actually increasing their hours, and not considering the fact that the only level of education required for our assistants was a high school diploma. So it's basically an incredible insult to my profession to say, yeah, we've had people in this position for better than 50 or 60 years doing this job, but we've decided that we can't afford you anymore, so we're going to just let your assistants do everything because, you know, who cares? Your job doesn't matter anyway. It's not that important. Anybody can do it. So not only am I miserable in what I'm doing, but I get to watch them assume that someone else can do it just fine, with no funding, no training. Not for my part of the job anyway. Certainly they had training for their own part of the job that they're still doing. Anyway, I'm watching the thing that I dedicated my life to the past 23 years to doing. I'm watching it go down the tubes, and I don't have any choice. So that's kind of been bugging me. A little venting there. And what happened when I put in for this retirement program, this being my 24th year, I could have retired after 25 next year, is of course I was denied the bonus, and came to discover that no one has received it for a good 10 years now. It's still on the books. Nobody ever gets the bonus. They don't grant it. Which pretty much means it was a waste of my time to write that letter, and I can't afford to retire, so I get to stay in the position that's making me so unhappy and watch the deterioration year by year of the program that my old job supported. So just sort of, you know, misery on top of misery. And I just found that out this past week. And I will learn to cope with it. There are certainly much worse things in life than being forced to work at a job you hate. I work with good people, excluding the ones who are so short-sighted about what they do with my position. There are some definite positive aspects of my employment. But I'm just really pretty bummed right now, used to be the expression. I'm pretty bummed. And nothing, absolutely nothing I can do about it. So I'm just gonna sit and stitch until I can get myself back in a good mood. Don't know when that's gonna be, if that can even be. For some time, since I'm now facing years instead of 1 year, years ahead on the job. You probably didn't turn this on to hear all that, but I just felt I owed you some explanation for why I'm not even really giving a hoot about how carefully I'm stitching this right now. I'm just... it is what it is. Let's try to keep this guy in frame for you. The necks need to come up in these empty little squares over here. So again, I mark it with my needle, try to figure out the best angle to come in from where I'm not actually pulling out thread that's already been tucked. Cat hairs. Oh, not quite where I thought you were. There we go. So what else has been going on? How are you all doing? I know that some nice folks like Coffee Stitcher are always polite enough to ask how everybody's doing. I also know from some of the videos posted that not everybody in the cross-stitch world is equally polite. I guess my 2 cents on that whole apparent fiasco in the Stitch Mania Facebook group, where someone wanted the admins to censor the stitching of others in the group, would be that my job that I used to have before they moved me was extremely anti-censorship. Extremely anti-censorship. Had a friend once out shopping with her and her husband, and we went to a used bookstore, and he apologized, the husband, that he was going to ask to step into the back room where they kept some of their adult materials, and he hoped that I would not be offended by that. And I told them quite honestly, I don't care. You're not making me look at them. You know, I'm anti-censorship. Whatever is. And I'm not going to pick on you. So I don't know what the actual stitching was that upset people. I mean, I got some vague ideas from some of the floss tubes I watched that it had to do, potentially, I'm not sure how far it went, but at least one led me to believe that it was not merely nudity, but potentially actual coitus or some other similarly graphic act, which, you know, if that's what you want to stitch. I remember looking at a video once where the floss tuber was completely thrilled to be stitching a blood spattered image from the movie American Psycho. And I thought to myself, I would never in a million years want to stitch that. But it made that floss tuber really, really happy. So if whoever was doing this in the Stitch Mania group was happy with their work, more power to them. I think you could say of my channel that I am clueless and drama-free, because I don't know what anybody's doing. I may call my next update that, clueless and drama-free. I don't know what anybody likes. I don't know what upsets anybody. I get hints. Apparently some people don't like folks drinking on their videos. They don't like them crackling plastic. I really like, or at least at first, when I began watching FlossTube, I thoroughly enjoyed the crackling plastic of project bags and kits and so on. I liked the sound of it. There was something very appealing. The sound of a new kit being opened. Sorry, I am looking for a good spot to run that through again. I don't like to run them against existing threads, so I think I'm actually going to have to run this down his arm maybe. This is a different color, but it's not going to stand out from the back because it's going through a darker color. There we go. How's that little arm? All right. This will be the next spot. Sorry I've gotten quiet. I don't know if you like that or not. As I said, I don't know if people watch Stitch with Me's in order to hear the people babble or not. I don't know. What else have I been up to? This pattern, by the way, I guess I should say something. I did tell you it's 14 count Aida cloth done with designs for the needle floss in 3 strands, but I didn't tell you where it came from. I did a Google image search for cross stitch related to the particular video game that this little guy's out of, and found an image, and am just stitching from the image search results. I don't know if the person who designed this has any kind of a store where they're trying to sell them. I don't know. I have a strong suspicion that they didn't license this from the game maker. Probably because the game maker has no interest in licensing cross-stitch designs. But hopefully nobody would be offended at my using this. I would like to give credit where credit was due if I had any idea where it came from. I think there's supposed to be some way to click on there. Click on images online and see if they have a copyright notice. I can't quite recall. I should be able to do that. I know you can do searches for copyright-free images in the Google search bar if that's the search engine you're using. There's a way to do that. I didn't do that. That didn't occur to me. And I'm far enough on to him now that I don't think I'm going to go back and find out. My first 2 attempts at this were probably a little more interesting because they were larger areas of a single color. It's okay, I'm not going to make you suffer through too much more of this anyhow, because I've told you where my stitching is at as far as those projects that you saw in the past. The needle gets a bit tight when going through areas that you've run the thread before, but this is in the right direction. So I'm going to pull it. We need to come over here. A little more green. If you're wondering, these are little watery creatures from the video game that make interesting noises. And since I seem to be running out of things to babble about, it's not that I'm running out. I could actually talk to you about a lot of other things, but I don't want to bore you further, and I don't want to have this be a total downer of a video. Much nicer to talk about cheerful things. Sorry, cat hair again. But I can always scrap this video too. There's nothing that says that just because I filmed it I have to put it up. It was just meant to be my way of seeing to it that since I didn't do my update, I did something. And if filming one Stitch With Me video after another that I never post gets me to Stitch, maybe it's actually accomplished what I need it to do. I am not happy with that cat hair. There we go. I'm probably too soft for you anyway. And part of my silence comes from the fact that I did film this yesterday. Whatever I thought I might have had to say, I probably covered then. Why does my cat have to have black hair? Very annoying. Okay, well that's not coming out. I just cannot seem to get a grip on the hair. Maybe need a better pair of tweezers. I give up. Yes, that's going to be real exciting to watch. People will love that. Watch Dreamingstitcher pulling cat hair out of her project. Listen to Dreamingstitcher babble. Talk about completely miserable things. Well, no, they weren't completely miserable. They're only miserable to me. I don't suppose anybody else particularly cares. See her repeatedly forget to drop her needle and let the thread untwist. Look at the terrible stitches she's got. Yeah, nice train wreck of a video. Let's post that. Gosh, every time I get to that hair, it annoys me. But I'm almost done with the thread, so you guys are going to be safe soon, because I don't plan to make you suffer through more than one color. And if this video is as bad as it likely is, I won't make you suffer through it at all. Find something else to do with my time than uploading this and inflicting it on you. It all kind of depends on how clearly you can see this. If you can actually see the stitching going on, I might put it up, because you could turn the sound off. Ignore me. Just have someone stitch in there. Something funky going on with those stitches. Trying to figure out if I need to back up and do something about that. No, gonna leave it. So how is Mr. Murloc doing? is gonna have to be wrapped up soon because the threads, since I wasn't untwisting, you can see we've definitely got something funky going on there. They're not all the same length at the end anymore, so I've messed up something. It's probably the spot that I was just looking at back there where I was wondering what was going on. But it means there's not enough thread here to do a lot more. I may do these last two and call it a day. For this video anyhow. And grab some more color and keep working on him. And because of that issue with the threads, I'm going to stop there. Normally, if it hadn't messed up that way, I could have gotten to the end of that batch of green. Okay, Mr. Murloc, there you are. Coming along. Strange little creature, little ways to go. Thank you for watching. If you suffered through this, if I don't post it, it means you won't be suffering. Isn't that nice for you? See you some other time. Bye.